Okay, so today we're going to be discussing sentience. Now I'm sure if you're watching this video and you're not an angry vegan, you've probably heard this argument before.
Animals are sentient beings. Every single animal that has a heart, has a brain, has a central nervous system, has the opportunity and can experience love, pain, like, dislikes.
Now, this argument is obviously suggesting it's morally wrong to eat meat based on the answer to the question, what is sentience? But before we go any further, we need to understand nothing is an accident and nothing is a coincidence. From the design of our bodies, the trees that give oxygen for life, the oceans and the currents that self-clean, from the animals and plants that all require each other to survive and just happen to be comprised of the materials life needs to survive, it's all just too perfect to be an accident. It's clear. We live in an intelligently designed, physical, closed system. So we should keep in mind everything in nature has a logical purpose. It's not an accident. So before we ask the question, what logically is the reason for sentience, let's just take a quick look at the definition of the word sentience. Okay, so sentient, able to perceive or feel things. I'm sure we all agree with that. Just before we move on, let's check out this line here. She had been instructed from birth in the equality of all sentient life forms. That's suggestive conditioning, if ever I've heard it. I mean, first they choose that sentence out of any. Second, they use the word she, knowing most who go vegan are women. So it's safe to say, statistically, that most who look up this definition are vegan women, or women looking to go vegan. Third, we have the suggestive appeal to women that, as we mentioned, they know are likely the ones reading, to instruct their children from birth on the equality of all sentient life. And fourth, the obvious, we're all equal and deserve the same rights because we're sentient nonsense. This is clearly not an accident. Anyway, let's carry on. So earlier, we heard that vegans logically conclude that sentience is there as a gauge or a meter, so vegans know what to tell everyone to eat and what to tell everyone not to eat. But logically, this doesn't make any sense to me. So logically, why are we sentient then? Well, we know we're experiencing the third dimension, or physical reality.
Let's imagine that we are perfectly flat. I mean absolutely flat. And that we live, appropriately enough, in a flatland. Now, we have width and length, but no height at all. We know, us flatlanders, about left-right, and we know about forward-back, but we have never heard of up-down. Let us imagine that into flatland, hovering above it, comes a strange three-dimensional creature which, oddly enough, looks like an apple. But let's consider a cube. We can imagine a cube in the following way. You take a line segment and move it at right angles to itself in equal length. That makes a square. Move that square in equal length at right angles to itself, and you have a cube.
So we've also established everything in nature has a purpose, and we know we're experiencing a physical reality. So if we know this, then doesn't it make sense that logically sentience, or the ability to touch and feel, would be a natural and necessary consequence of being here in the physical reality and not there so we know what to eat? What sounds more logical to you? I mean, nature won't lie like those in science and can be trusted. So if we look to nature to see what we can learn, we see sentience gets you no free pass in nature. And I'm not saying this is good or bad because it's in nature. Often we hear vegans say just because something happens in nature, that doesn't mean it's good. So, again, I'm not claiming it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's observable in nature. Nature can be trusted, and in nature we see no mercy being given to sentience. And why? Because it means nothing in regards to morality. It's simply our ability to feel, which, as we've established, goes hand in hand with being in a physical reality. Now, as for the pain and suffering vegans connect with sentience in a negative way, I think we need to feel pain and suffering to a certain extent. I think they have a purpose in life. They can teach us much about life and ourselves. For example, as a child, if you put your hand in a flame, you feel pain. And that pain is necessary to teach you not to do things that will harm your body. like putting your hand in a flame. See, pain comes in many different forms, but it always comes with something to teach us if we listen. Even suffering has much to teach us about ourselves, both through causing suffering and having suffering put onto us. Even watching the suffering of someone we care about can teach us a lot and make us alter or think twice about our actions towards other people in the future. These things, even though considered by vegans to be bad or cruel, are there to teach us about life. They're a very important part of the experience of life, and if vegans and most people in general would just listen to the lessons life is trying to teach through the senses, they would limit or avoid continued suffering in their own life altogether. So to summarize this video, we've learned that sentience is a logical and necessary consequence of experiencing the three-dimensional physical reality, and logically has nothing to do with what we eat. If we stumble in front of a hungry lion, the fact we are sentient will mean nothing to nature at all. We've also learned experiences, no matter whether it be pain and suffering or happiness and joy, are necessary for our individual growth, and the more we run, the more we suffer. And you might not be able to sit down with life itself, and have a conversation, but life can communicate lessons and try to teach you things through your senses, like the earlier example with the candle. See, while vegans look at life burning the hand of the child as cruel pain and suffering, I look at life burning the hand of the child as being kind, so you don't jump in a fire next time because putting your hand in the flame didn't hurt. We need to feel pain. It's necessary. You've got to be cruel to be kind. Anyway, I'll leave it there. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe for more, and hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.